Greetings everyone, I'm Mar, and once again this is my opinion. As I mentioned in the first season Thanksgiving episode, Thanksgiving and the other holidays are a time for family, but when it comes to the Turkey Day dinner, everyone wants good food. In this episode, we see what happens when you go from good food and you go down to food that people can barely stomach. And while you're doing it for personal reasons to improve yourself, you gotta balance it out when you're pushing it on others. That, of course, is No Fat. One of my favorite episodes of the season. It was also one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. It was number 2 on my list when I did it a few years back. If you want to go and watch that list, it's still up on the channel. It's the highest rated video essay episode by view count. Now, No Fat, another one of the first episodes I remember seeing in syndication, but it was when I actually started watching the show myself, not just randomly sitting down with my grandmother when she watched it, like Lucky Suit and The Article and a couple others. And it was really what started to get my love of the show. Now, the plot is that Frank and Marie went to a senior health fair, which there is a deleted scene of them actually going into the fair, but we don't actually see the aftermath of it. It would go from that to this part. Marie is now making healthier options. She's making the fake eggs. Of course, this was back when the fake eggs was all that scrambler stuff. I don't think they were selling egg whites separately like they are now. If they were selling them, that's probably what Marie would have been making. Frank is disappointed in this because, as he says, it's that fake egg crap. She's buying skim milk instead of regular milk, which is annoying Frank because, as he puts it, the coffee doesn't even recognize it. She's going to throw out all the good food, which Frank is really annoyed at. Is like, I do not want to eat like this. Marie's doing it because their cholesterol is close to the danger zone. And they did a bunch of other tests, blood sugar amongst others, and Marie now wants them to eat healthier, which you understand. They're getting older, she wants to be health conscious, and she wants them to stay around for a while. Whereas Frank is like, I just want to live my life. I want to live normally. Well, Marie decides to go to Deborah to get some advice on how to cook stuff healthier. And she's giving her stuff, there's a cookbook that shows you how to eat healthier. They can use olive oil in a spray. And in the book, Marie finds recipes for a low-fat Thanksgiving. Which, when Ray hears this, you could tell right away where this is going to go in the episode. Because he's like, no. And part of this is, one of the dishes in there is a tofu turkey. Which, this is a moment where even I, in this situation, would be raising my hand going, question? Why are you replacing the turkey? It's white and dark meat. It's a bird. It's lean compared to the other things. You can keep the turkey. If you want to replace all the other dishes with healthier options, like this probably wouldn't have been common back then, but if you want to replace the mashed potatoes with mashed cauliflower, do that. You want to just do the steamed vegetables like she ends up doing, and then replace some of the other dishes with healthier options, go that. But why replace the turkey? Unless you're going full on vegetarian or more extreme into the vegan territory, there's no reason to replace the turkey. So Ray getting upset on that, I can understand. As he puts it, not on Turkey Day. This is not like when Deborah made the fish in season 1 where Ray was getting upset because, it's Turkey Day and you're making a fish. And then, of course, Marie brings her own turkey and it gets into a whole thing there. Fish at least has a little bit more history when it comes to Thanksgiving because, as Allie mentioned in that first episode, they ate fish at the first Thanksgiving. But tofu? Like I said, unless you're vegetarian or vegan, there's no reason to replace the turkey, at least in my humble opinion. So I understand why Ray gets upset. Now, of course, the rest of the family, when they do see the meal, the mixed veggies, alright, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, okay, that's a nice little side dish to go with it. Going with a turkey, that'd be nice. I mean, me, if I wanted to even keep my diet that I'm trying to get back on course on Thanksgiving, I would eat that with the turkey. That would be my fiber. That would be my protein. Just, not overdo it. And then, of course, seeing how the tofu turkey looks, you just look at it and go, how are we supposed to eat that? And everybody's reaction is different. You can all tell from how all the actors are selling it that this thing does not taste good. In fact, Marie's the only one that seems to like it a little bit. Even Deborah, who's on Marie's side through all of this, she takes a bite and she's all like... And as Ray jokes with her, kind of starts out with an aftertaste, doesn't it? In which I've tasted some things with some pretty bad aftertastes that overpower everything. Like a couple of the pre-workouts I have over there. I'm not going to mention the brand because in case anyone knows, the people watching bring it up. But just most of them, it's like the aftertaste overpowers everything, and you're like, oh, how am I supposed to even eat this, drink this? Or so it's the same thing. Of course, Ray, we find out that he went behind his mother's back and ordered a traditional Thanksgiving dinner from a restaurant that he was going to eat later. And you know how we find out? Because the person who was delivering it, he was going to leave it across the street, but he can't leave perishables. And I guess he sees that there's another Barone residence there, so on half chance he's like, Barone? And he leaves it there, and Marie is hurt. And Deborah's mad. You could understand why, because she sees how hurt Marie is. So she's like, go talk with your mother. Robert and Frank are all happy about the Thanksgiving. You're going, oh yeah, we're going to get it. And of course, Deborah intercepts that while Ray goes and talks to Marie, and Marie finally admits, you know what? You're right, Ray. It's like I should have made the traditional meal for y'all. I know I let you down. You're disappointed. Which I know Ray does apologize after this. You know that I should have supported you and all that, which he has a point. But the thing is, that whole diet thing, that is Marie's choice. I know she technically does not have to make a traditional meal for everyone else. But the thing is, if you're going to try to do a diet for you, and then of course by extension your spouse, that's your choice. Don't force it on everyone else. Now I know someone's going to bring up, what about Deborah wanting the family to always eat healthy? You know, the thing about cutting the fat off a steak that we heard of in a previous episode, season 1 if I remember correctly. Which, fair enough, but the thing is, that's Deborah's choice as both a parent to Allie and the twins, and Ray's wife. He doesn't like that, he can make something himself. That's her choice as a cook in the house. Marie's, if she wants her choice to affect the people she's cooking for, alright. But the whole thing, and Deborah backing up her to try to force this whole thing on the rest of the family for Thanksgiving, I think that oversteps it a little bit on that same thing. The boys don't like it, they don't have to eat dinner with them, or they could have gone out and eat their own. It's back and forth thing. But when it comes to it, I have to side with Ray a bit more, because really, you want to do this on Turkey Day? And as I said before, she could have still made the turkey and then just made the rest of the side dishes. She didn't have to go that extreme with it. But then again, I'm thinking from a modern lens and not from the health crazes of the 90s. Back then, it would have been one of those things like, you got to cut meat out of your diet too. It's like a lot of these fad diets seem to change along with what doctors say is good and not good for you, what's bad, what you want to avoid. Like they keep going back and forth on how much red meat you should consume. I mean, there's the whole carnivore diet now where you get all your good vitamins from that and just throw some other veggies in there. Of course, fish seems to be one they never really go negative on, other than like the long-lived fish like tuna and other ones that can contain high levels of mercury. They always seem to say fish is good for you. I mean, there's a reason there's the pescatarian diet, which I am going to try pretty soon here. And then, going back onto it, I understand why Ray decides to support his mother at the end of the day, because he does want her to stay around longer, you know, be healthier, and he understands why she's hurt by everything, so he does support her when it comes to making sure everyone eats this one, down to the soy cheesecake, which the way Ray reacts, it sounds like it doesn't taste any better than the tofu turkey, which since this is the 90s, I can kind of see why. Back then, I think a lot of the alternative dishes, they would have looked presentable, probably not tasted the best. Nowadays, with all the keto dishes and everything else, you can make the substitutions, and while they won't taste exactly the same, they'll still taste pretty good. Like, I mentioned it already, like the cauliflower mashed potatoes, or even the cauliflower rice, they still taste pretty good. Now, the rice does not taste directly the same, but it still is edible. The mashed potatoes, especially if you add like seasonings to them, they can taste pretty much the same. Then all the almond flour and coconut flour stuff. Back then, they didn't really have as much, so I can see why Marie's limited with the choices. And of course, this whole diet thing comes from not in the epilogue one, because we see Marie decides to cut out the thing, and is like, she'll worry about it when she gets into the danger zone. And like some other stuff in this episode by episode continuity of sitcoms, it's never mentioned again. Health is only brought up a couple other times, like a season 7 episode, I believe. I think it might also be season 8 where the boys play golf for who Marie gets to stay with. But they mention they don't see Frank living to be 100. That's because of how much he eats and all that, so yeah. And of course, if we're going to take real life into account, yeah, looks like he was right a little bit there. The acting in the episode is spot on. When Marie is hurt by Ray, Doris Roberts does an excellent job. You get to see all the conflicting emotions going through the character, and she plays it beautifully. Ray, he carries his own end in that dramatic scene, shows he has grown as an actor, playing this character, which is essentially a fictional version of himself, but he has grown since the first season, and he can handle a little bit more of the drama compared to early on where he was more about the comedy, but there's still a little bit of that dramatic thing there. He just has to work on it. And I think that's why, if you look at it, why they say that a lot of people who start off with comedic roles can transition into dramatic roles as they learn, learn by doing. And he hasn't really been a big old name like someone, let's say, like Adam Sandler. Ray Romano can handle his own. I mean, he did surprise me in The Irishman playing the lawyer. I think he did a pretty good job there. Definitely the type of character that fits his range. Brad Garrett's only in 2 scenes, the ending and the main dinner one. He does a pretty decent job of what little he has to do. Of course, they only mention in passing the whole breakup thing, but that's what the next episode's left to resolve. Now, Peter Boyle, when it comes to the overreactions involving this diet, he is the king in this episode. Though, like I mentioned earlier, the fake egg crap, the whole overreaction to that thing. And then, of course, he gets in some dark humor when it comes to the scene where they're serving the tofu turkey. One of my favorite lines in the whole episode. "May I have my carving knife, please? I want to slit my throat." The way he says it and the look on his face. And then the look on his face when he takes his first bite. Oh, that's why I love Peter Boyle in this show. Lines like that. Hopefully, the angel of death. Patricia Heaton does a good job trying to back up Marie. You can see it starting to slide down there. She plays it perfectly. And of course, the writing in this episode, it's a 2-person job, this one. It's Ellen Sandler and Susan Van Allen, so nice to see them. I don't know if they co-wrote it together or if one wrote one draft and one wrote the other, but nice little balance there. Nice to see Marie getting a centered episode. Of course, not the first episode of hers that's centered, and it's not going to be the last, especially for this season. This is an episode that could have happened in any season. I know you've heard me say that a lot, but it's true. But I think it fits perfectly here. Because then if it was later, you'd have to try to write the kids in a little bit more, give them some dialogue, or at least Allie, give her a couple snarky lines. You'd have to include Amy in the plot, especially if it was post-season 7. So here, it's the perfect location for this episode. And that concludes my review of No Fat. Next episode, we're going to get back on with Robert's Season 3 storyline, involving him. And that concludes my review of No Fat. Next episode, we're going to get back on track with Robert's storyline and finally get an in-depth look at his apartment. Made a cameo in the last episode, so now we're going to get to see how he's enjoying life there, especially now that he is single again. And we're going to get to see Ray's reaction and then everyone else's reaction. And boy, is it going to be beautiful. Of course, Frank's going to probably need his glasses for it. Yep, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, the Patreon link is down below, along with the PayPal link. Until next time, guys.